and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes and my review of the book. Stone Blind gives a really thought-provoking retelling of Medusa and Perseus to a degree, and the story that happens for one of mythology's most misunderstood figures. It gives her a lot more positive spin than some of the other retellings of Medusa that we've seen before. So we start right at the beginning of Medusa's story. So while she is a mortal Gorgon, unlike her sisters who are immortal Gorgons, she then feels like the pain and suffering that humans feel because of her mortality. We then see how she's affected by the whims of gods for things that aren't really her problem or her fault in any way. Haynes definitely challenged the perception we have of Medusa. I think in recent years Medusa has been this character that we've consistently thought to have a little bit more characterization given to, because it's not her fault that she was raped by a god and therefore punished because it was in Athena's temple. The novel itself really goes into the power dynamics, the victimization, and the rewriting of history. So after these events take place, the winners are the ones actually writing the story and describing what happened in a light that defers to them, when actually the victims of what they're doing probably don't see it that way. So the really good part about this book is that it does follow Medusa from a young age. We see her with her sisters, we then see her in Athena's temple, and then we see her afterwards. So when she's cursed to turn everyone who looks at her into stone, she then starts living a life of solitude. But because she has emotions and weaknesses, because she's a mortal Gorgon, she kind of really suffers through this curse. Secondary to Medusa, the book follows Perseus, the hero of the story, a lot, but Haynes really develops this character into much more complex than just the person who is doing heroic acts. He is not very nice, actually. He is, whilst he's the hero of the stories in history, in like real life, he is not doing this for good reasons sometimes. And I would say actually the gods interfere a lot throughout the story. So we see different gods helping Perseus out because they're trying to fix mistakes that they've done in the past and to gain favour with his father Zeus. Whilst the book follows Medusa and Perseus, I'd say it follows 4 of other female characters too. So Aphrodite, Athena, and the pivotal roles they play in the story of Perseus and Medusa. We also have Andromeda, which intersects the story at pivotal moments and shows a completely different perspective, which is really great to see throughout the story as well. And there's definitely themes of kind of retribution and divine intervention because of this. These characters are always very self-motivated. I'd say that Haynes really develops these characters well for us to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but also shows that why you're doing something doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do, which I think is just amazing writing, because it's not even that much of a bulky book, and her writing style just creates a lot of emotive reactions as well whilst you're reading. All in all, I think it's a really well written book. I really enjoy the Greek mythology retelling, but also the aspects that we don't normally see in these retellings. Whilst it's majority about Medusa, we do see other characters, we also see other creatures. So we see Gorgons and Nereids and everything else as well. And I like that we did get a little bit of each person's perspective, although I do wish actually Medusa could have been a more titular character. I found that whilst she's on the front cover and you sold it as a Medusa retelling, Medusa isn't the majority of the book. We see a lot of Perseus, we see a lot of the other characters' point of views and these stories that are taken with them. So yeah, thinking of the positives of Stone Blind, the first one is that it's a really good fresh perspective. It offers a really empathetic take on the Medusa story, so that you feel really bad for Medusa, which I think in recent years is the general consensus that Medusa did nothing wrong and was called a monster for something completely out of her control, which is what this book does. There's significant character development throughout the book for both Medusa, Perseus, Andromeda and other characters that we see as well. We do see really good emotive scenes with all of them, and we see them develop characters, not always in the way that we know from Greek mythology before, but into more modern takes on these characters. The writing style itself is really good. I really enjoyed the prose. It's really engaging and quite witty in places. I read this book pretty quickly because of this. I think I read it in 2 or 3 sittings. It was really easy to read. Another good thing is that it's multi-perspective narration. I personally prefer having multiple POVs, and I know lots of other people might not agree with me, but I really enjoyed this. It gave us a lot more in depth. I love seeing stories from different points of view, so we don't just see one person's narrative throughout, but we saw all of these different people kind of doing this and sometimes hitting each other's, and we saw it from 2 different points of view, which was great. And I just really enjoyed that we saw all of the complexities of these characters because of it. And overall, it just really explores those themes of power dynamics, abuse and victimization, and divine intervention as a key thing. The gods are not good, and they were the issue. Some of the negatives of Stone Blind could be that the pacing can sometimes be slow. There's quite complex themes throughout, so sometimes that might slow you down in your reading. The book is also very character focused. So whilst the plot of the book is very much what we know from Greek myths, the character focus is the main thing. So if you're looking for something that's quite action-packed or anything like that, you're probably not going to get it. It goes deep into all of these different characters very much. And there's also really dark themes. So if you are kind of worried about reading about abuse, sexual assault, or violence in general, maybe this one isn't for you. Especially with the ending, I would say the ending feels maybe rushed or maybe unresolved. And this is because it's based on Greek mythology and it's true to what happens in Greek mythology. But yeah, you may not enjoy it if you want something that kind of ties up in a little bow at the end. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. If you've read it, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're going to read it after reading this review, do let me know as well. I think this is a great book for anyone who loves Greek mythology and loves a modern take on the characters. There's a few negative aspects, but I think most people will really enjoy this read. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next one.